Welcome, everybody, to the On the Whistle podcast. Once again, we are back interviewing people who have had a footstep in the history of South African football and are trying to create a pathway with the latest group of South African football athletes. Today, we are happily joined by someone I've played with and admired a lot, with a wizard of a left foot. We say good morning to you, Mr. Mandla Zwane.
Good morning, Courtney, and thanks for having me. And good morning in your time to the viewers and listeners of the podcast.
Well, Mandla, as we've said before, you and I have played together, and I was lucky to have played with you. I was shocked that you came to our club, such a talented player. But let's get directly into it, Mandla. You played for some fantastic clubs, but when you were at Pirates, you were snapped up by Porto, by the legendary Bobby Robson and Jose Mourinho. How did that happen? Can you tell our viewers, please?
Yeah, I remember that very, very, very well. I was promoted to the Pirates senior team, and then from there, the first under-20 national side that was assembled, I was part of that team. Then from there, when the national team trained, obviously there were scouts. So there was a guy by the name of Marcelo Hausman who took Philemon Masinga and Lucas Radebe over to Leeds, and all the top players that used to play who played their trade in Turkey. He was the guy that came to me and said, "Look, would you sign up with me? I'll take you overseas." And at the time, remember, I was young and I knew about European football quite extensively. So now I agreed to it. And then now what he did was he arranged for the trials for me to Holland. There I traveled with Enes Shirawali, formerly known as Mdawali, former Sundowns great. I also traveled with Etienne Nzonda, that he was my former teammate at Pirates at the time. And then now when we got there, we met a guy from Argentina. His name was Walter Paz. So we all went to Feyenoord. Then there at Feyenoord, I met Hendrik Lassen. He was on trial as well at Feyenoord at the time. He was young. He's the guy from Sweden. Hendrik Lassen.
An unbelievable player. Ended up scoring goals for Celtic. Went to Barcelona, and then
the one and only. Later on, he went to Manchester. Yes, we did trial there, and then now, when we play the friendly game, so it's obviously friendly games are open, so people come and watch. So Feyenoord play the friendly game. Apparently, remember the late Sir Bobby Robson once coached PSV. So he had people there all over the country. PSV and Hoven in Holland, yes. PSV and Hoven in Holland. So apparently there were people who were watching the game. Then eventually they picked up the phone and said, "You know what? We found a gem here. Rather take him away before Feyenoord does something." Because I went there for Feyenoord, remember, for trials. And then that was a week before the elections in South Africa, first elections in South Africa in 94. And just a couple of months before the World Cup, So that's how it came about. And then now, after having impressed on trials at Feyenoord, I said to myself, after the World Cup, I'm going back to Holland. Little did I know that the tables have turned, instead of Holland, now it's Portugal. There I didn't go and trial, I just went there and signed because of apparently the people that were watching the game, they gave a good review about me on the day. Even the great Enes Shirawali was like, "Wow, boy, you play more than, you don't play like the South African player. You play more like a European." I was like, you know what? I used to watch European football from the age of 15. Can you imagine? Then when I turned pro, I knew exactly the profiling of the European teams. Not necessarily Holland, but remember, I used to watch the highlights of European soccer back in the day. In the Bob TV, we used to even have the match of the week, the big games. I used to watch, copy those styles here and there. Then when I went over to Holland, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is where I wanted to be anyway." That's how the movie got about.
Wow. what an unbelievable route. You know, firstly, you've traveled with greats. Anish Chirwali, who can, for goodness sake, what an unbelievable player from Malawi, and had a beautiful career in South Africa. So you end up going over to Portugal. Now you start training under Bobby Robson, and then the very young Jose Mourinho at the time was also plying his trade, being given the opportunity to learn as a manager. What was the experience like?
Wow, the experience was overwhelming because I was training with the guys who just played in the World Cup. Your Kostarinov from Bulgaria, your Uran from Russia and Kulukov, your Balakov was at Sporting, the guys from Brazil. Remember, there's a guy who used to play for Middlesbrough, Emerson, with a long hair.
Yes,
I played with, so the experience was massive because remember, the very same player that lifted the Champions League with Benny McCarthy, George Costa, was still up and coming at the time. But they was promising. Victor Bayer, the goalkeeper for national team in Portugal, Domingos, the striker, the current under-23 coach, Rui George, the current under-23 Portugal coach, Rui George. I mean, the experience was just massive for me. And look, I stood I stood my ground because I was in the radar of being signed actually to be registered because remember, we were about 9 foreigners in the club at the time and only 6 can be registered. So we just had to buy our time where some of the Brazilian players, Zé Carlos and Aloisio, they were going to be given the citizenship in Portugal, which was going to free up the space for foreigners. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, you were fortunate there. So there was an opportunity that if they were given citizenship, they can sign more.
Yes, and fortunately, I was waiting for my turn because in October, they got their citizenship. Then Etienne Nsonda was registered at Porto at the time. So it was going to be my turn around about January, late December, January. One of the players was going to be registered as a citizen of Portugal. Then I was going to be registered to play in the league. But I was training and playing friendly games in the interim.
So Mandla, just for people that have never asked you this question or you've never spoken about it to somebody, put us in the position. What was it like being around someone as knowledgeable as Sir Bobby Robson? You must remember Bobby Robson had Ronaldo at one stage.
Yep.
Under his care, right?
Yeah.
He had just left the England team and had taken them to the 94 World Cup.
Yeah.
And now he's also got this young manager on the side coming through to be. What was it like being around the training and learning from these people?
It wasn't so real, man. It was like, wow. You see things that you've never seen in your life, the preparation, the organization, and everything that has to do with what is happening currently in modern football. But remember the time Jose was still young, up and coming, and he used to come to me and ask me, because he couldn't pronounce Mandla. He used to say Mandela, he used to say to me, and then everything just clicked because I'm from South Africa, and the president of South Africa is Nelson Mandela. So if you put E between D and L, it's Mandela. So, and again, the clicks, they don't know how to pronounce the names. They say, hey, Mandela, come here. Tell me, what are you going to be doing today? Because of whatever that Ronaldinho was doing at Barcelona, he used to experience it firsthand while I was at Porto. They would come and ask me, and then tell me, do you have eyes at the back of your ears, of your head? I'm like, no, why? But how did you see that player? I said, no, don't worry about that. But then I just be content that I was able to see the player long before the ball was played to me. So I was more like, I was screaming long before the game is. I would say more what Messi is doing before he gets to the ball. He knows exactly what he's going to do next. So, it was like that for me. So, but again, to be around the players from the World Cup and those players who are playing in Europe and the coaching staff that was there at the time, your game improves exponentially. Because now your thinking process is no longer as slow as it was. If it was slow, but then now you are always a step ahead or two from the opponent. Then now in that instance, then now your game improves. I improved in my game to a point that even when we play friendly matches, you know what, in Porto, when they train, even supporters come and watch training. They used to come and watch and then, talk about what they've seen in me. I was a revelation to them. Unfortunately, because of this foreign coach, I think I was a bit somehow sidetracked. And then later on, another coach from an NFD team called and said, he's looking for players to reinforce the team in January. And then that's when I get to be loaned. And then now my football started to go slightly down. But look, the experience that I got at Porto, I mean, it was, you cannot quantify it to anything,
Manda, that's such a lovely thing to hear. And you have these big names on your resume where you've done, and they wanted you, but obviously the quota system at the time was such a strict thing. Immigration is so strict. But looking through your career, Mandla, where you've played and where you've done well, where would you say you've played your best football? And please don't say Manning Rangers, Mandla, because we were fighting relegation when we were there. But where did you feel you played your best football that expressed who you are?
Look, I wouldn't blink twice about it. SuperSport United was the place where I flourished. Because even from there, that's when I get to play in Africa in the Champions League. And also that's where now Bafana, I also represented my country. And and again, I was with a guy who understood our South Africanness first, and the way football should be played. And I mean, Pitso, to be where he is today, I am not surprised because of he's the everything. He eats, sleep, and drink football, nothing else. You take football away from him, he's dead. Period. But I did enjoy my time at SuperSport.
So you had Pitso as your manager?
Yes, remember at the time when I joined SuperSport, when I left you, the coach was still Bruce Grobler, the legend himself from Liverpool.
Yes.
He was the coach at the time. But then now, as soon as I joined SuperSport, after a week or two, I got injured. And then I had to do a meniscus operation. So I was out of the team for quite some time, for something like 2 to 3 months. And then in the process, then the coach was fired. Then Pitso took over. Then when he took over, Pitso, then now he started to introduce this Real Madrid, the Galactico style of football. You remember Real Madrid of Zidane and Beckham and Ronaldo and Raul. You score 3, they score 4. He introduced that kind of a philosophy at SuperSport. And then because he knew the players that he had, so hence the SuperSport was untouchable between the year of 2001 and 2006-07, somewhere there, until he left. Then Kevin Hunt came in and then took over from Pitso and started winning trophies, but the foundation was laid by Pitso. So coming back to your question, that's where I enjoyed my football the most, at SuperSport United.
Now you've seen Pitso go on to do many great things. What he's done for Sundowns, what he did when Patrice first got into Sundowns, and how he stopped this elaborate buying and created a team structure there. What was it about Pitso that sets him aside, you think, from the rest of the managers you worked with?
Look, the way he analyzed games, remember, before he used to say, for example, you're playing Dynamos in 2 weeks' time, right? Straight after the game today, say, for example, today is Saturday, and Dynamos is playing in Guyana the next day on a Sunday. After the game, at 5 o'clock, he drives to Guyana to watch Dynamos. And mind you, he'll bring a stack of papers of analysis, who does what and what, when it goes to P, what happens, who's going to come in second half, and who's he going to be replacing, and what is their strong point, what is their weaknesses. And then he'll come back and give us, each and everyone, the homework to say, okay, this is what I've seen. Would study that. Mind you, there were no DVDs at the time. They were just VHS cassettes, So you used to stay at multi-choice, watch the video cassette, analyze each and every individual. That's the difference between him and the rest.
So he was doing the analysis when analysis in South Africa. And
Yeah.
you must remember, you and I were playing together. In the team we
Yeah.
were playing, there was no analysis. Right?
And mind you, he did it on his own, on his own drive, go watch the match and analyze the opposition the entire game. How he did it, we don't know, because of he must move with the ball and also check the defense. You know what I mean? It takes someone with very, 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 very intelligent eyes and understanding to say this is what is happening. While the ball is mid-air, is checking the defense, how they shape up when they attack, how are they vulnerable when in possession of the ball, and then how to capitalize on that. Do you know what I mean? So his analysis was as if now he had cameras all over the field, only to find that he was watching through his naked eyes. So whatever that he was telling us, they came out that way.
That's such a lot of information for one person to connect.
Sure, to compress such information on one person is not easy, but he managed. And look where it took him to today.
Well, Mandla, you talk about that, and we've been very luckily on our show to be able to interview analysts and sporting directors. And the team is made up of maybe 2 or 3 people when they are analyzing teams, because there's so much that needs to be analyzed. And you telling me Pitso was, after games, going to do this on his own?
Yeah, he was doing on his own without cameras, Without cameras. Which now says to me, you need that more, because camera only shows where the action is of the game is, but it doesn't show what the team's like when they attack. So it needs someone with very, 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 I don't know, the eyes of the hawk to be able to capture just about every part of the field without disturbance, because camera will only show you where the action is.
Yes.
Yeah. But he was able to gather all the information. And mind you, how can you check the sub? What time are they being made and who comes in for who? Who dared to worry about that? But he was worried about that because he didn't want to be surprised. He worked hard at it. He didn't want to see surprises. So we knew exactly when this happens, this is what's going to happen. When that happened, this is what's going to happen. So we go in there with our God-given talent, with the first-hand information of what's going to happen. So obviously, this is football, but at least 70% or 80% of what he told you, it came out just exactly as it came out, as he told you. So, like I said, for me, he never needed video analyst because he was a video analyst. So we were so fortunate that to have him at SuperSport to plan a plan of action. How do we behave around and how do we punish the opposition whenever we play against them? It was not only Dynamos. It was going to be Leopards, it's going to be Free State Stars, it's going to be Bloemfontein Celtics, it's going to be, unless if we're playing in Santos, in Cape Town, he would, but if they are far away from us, he wouldn't worry about. But when they play in 2 weeks' time and they are playing in Johannesburg, then the whole team would go and watch Santos play. And then now we start helping each other. And then now we start organizing and helping that when this happens, this is what's going to happen. And mind you, he would tell you, don't worry about Mike Ethia a lot. You remember Mike Ethia. He will say, don't worry about him a lot. Just worry about Marawan Pantam and the other one. What's his name? Tyron Arense. Those are the ones. Because this one will just flick, but don't worry about the first ball, worry about the second ball and the third ball. That was his message from time to time. But wow, what a message.
So, Mandla, you were lucky to have this information being, you're actually learning from it when you're not learning from it.
Yeah.
You're thinking, well, this is how things get prepared. So give us, why did you now start to think, I want to go into football management now? Let's talk about management.
Look, if you're a football person and you see other youngsters are playing soccer, but you see that they love it, but they need to be polished in a certain direction. Remember, the current generation, they're lucky to have iPod or maybe tablet and laptop to pass time with. But if they want to play football seriously, they must also take the gadget away from themselves and focus on the game. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to impart my knowledge and experience, to share with the players, and also to open up other doors that ordinarily wouldn't have been opened. Because right now I can tell you I've got players all over South Africa playing the PSL. But imagine if maybe I didn't give them that little bit of inside scoop of what are the expectations at the higher level. Maybe they wouldn't have made it. Maybe they would have made it. We don't know, because of our scouting system in the country. It's not that up to the level where we all want it to be, Yeah. That's why I wanted to get into coaching and managing the team, because of it's important to pass on the information, to pass on and then give back to the community, and to give back to people what football has given.
If you look across some of our coaches, not everyone is so well qualified, Mandla. This is something that when we speak to coaches, you find out, no, you just coached the under 23s, you've been around the club for a long time, the manager got fired, you've fallen into the job. What qualification do you currently hold?
I currently have CAF A license, the highest qualification on the continent, which is recognized in the continent. I obtained it since 2017, and which is something that I wanted to do. And mind you, the person who introduced me to coaching, may his soul rest in peace, is no longer alive, Thomas Madikhache. He asked me, he said to me, you know what? The way you play and the way you do things with the youngsters, I think, don't you consider coaching? I said, hey, maybe at a later stage in my career, I would consider coaching, Thomas Madikhache. But it's obviously, Pitso Mosimane also had a say in it, and to say, get qualifications. Don't rely on your football playing only, but get qualifications, because of when you are qualified, you'd understand football differently than when you were still playing. Then I took his advice, and then I did my coaching qualifications.
So you get advice from the late Thomas Madikhache, who was a genius himself in terms of football.
Yeah.
You get advice from Pitso Mosimane, who is a genius currently.
Yeah.
And creating legendary status in football.
Yep.
What are you managing a team at the moment?
$1 million question. I am not managing a team, and I'm not even an assistant in any team, because of the state of our football in South Africa, the way it is. Club owners, they want their own people there, or whatever the case may be. I don't know.
Hold on, Mandla. Hold on. I think you're being polite here. Let me help you. As a youngster, you were taken into Europe.
Yeah.
You've got an experience of European behaviors.
Yeah.
Worked under legendary managers, which we've spoken about, Bobby Robson, a young Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
You've come back into South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Worked under a legendary manager of Pitso Mosimane, who's gone on to do things that a lot of people couldn't do in 4 lifetimes.
Yeah.
You've then also worked under Thomas Madikhache, who was not just a wonderful player, but a fantastic assistant coach.
Yeah.
Then you are not being lazy. You've gone on to get your CAF A license, which is the highest qualification on the African continent. And you telling me you are unemployed at this moment?
Yep. It's like that. It is.
You have to help me understand.
How's that possible? You and I, we don't know.
Mandla, if I'm an owner of a club,
yeah,
and I'm looking at your CV or I'm listening to this conversation, I'm thinking I need to get that man somewhere involved in my youth system, because he's going to be my next head coach.
Yeah, you see, in Europe, this is how the thinking is like. The thinking is like that. But over here, the thinking is not like that. How? I don't know. Who must change it? I don't know. Unless if the mother body decides to stamp its foot down and say, you know what? Let's do audit, qualification audit. Having said that, it doesn't mean that when you are qualified, you can be a good coach, you won't be fired. No, I'm not saying that. But up until the mother body itself puts its foot down and say, you know what? Enough is enough. Because you're making our league a mockery.
Well, listen, Manta, let's simplify it for you.
Yeah.
Touch wood. Let's say you break your leg.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
When you go to the hospital, do you want to be operated by a doctor who's qualified or a doctor who's been working for a long time with no qualifications?
I'd rather be operated by the doctor who's qualified.
So if you are not qualified, you shouldn't even be in there.
You shouldn't even be there in the first place. You know what I mean? You shouldn't even be there in the first place. But sometimes, certain abnormalities becomes normal in South Africa. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that phrase. Abnormalities become normal.
Yeah.
I find it a staggering situation with your experience, with your knowledge, with your qualifications. You're not even in a system.
Mind you, maybe let me just say, I was employed by the institution, a university team that I was working with, Bradley Cannell, who is currently in America managing St. Louisiana,
yeah,
the major league team. You know what I mean? As young as he was given an opportunity, and then luckily I was in the system at UJ. They took me from their development side to their senior side, and of which this is where I spent most of my coaching career. That's when I also obtained my qualifications through University of Johannesburg, because they played a very, very, very good role in shaping me and shaping my career path in terms of coaching. And in the process, some of the players that I coach at UJ, they are playing PSL. One is in America, Katlego Ntshabeleng. Other two they are in Poland, third or fourth division teams. Others are playing locally, PSL teams. Your Gavin Msimang is the captain of TS Galaxy. Sean Mukhaila is playing for Royal AM. They are playing tonight. I had a chat with him this afternoon. Neo Libopa is playing for an NFT side. The Sekhosi Betlela is playing for Sikukun in the PSL. Two players are playing for Muraka Swallows. I have got quite a number of players that I work with who are household names in those respective teams as you speak. So yeah.
This is fascinating, Mandla.
Yeah.
It's shocking, but this is not an uncommon thing.
Yeah.
On our show, and our viewers would know this, we had a conversation a few months back where we had all four legends on. We had Fani Matite, Benedict Vilakazi, and Thabo Mngomeni, and we were talking about why are ex-professionals not falling into the game. And Thabo Mngomeni, as we know, is a legend at Pirates with Bafana, Benedict as well.
Yeah.
They cannot find jobs, yet they are qualified.
Look, it's difficult. You can't even pin it to one thing only. You know what I mean? So it's a question of proximity. 1, 2, it's a question of who knows who where. Thirdly, it's like we are being I don't want to use the word victimized, but you are being somehow punished that you want things to be done to be delivered on our laps. You know what I mean? And of which, to a large extent, yeah, but majority of the guys who play the game, they're no longer in football. Those who are in football is because of the structures that are in existence right now. They can only absorb only few players, those who played. You know what I mean? So only few vacancies that are available, because one, majority of the teams don't have the under-9 up until the under-19 team. Hence, maybe this conundrum, or maybe hence this backlog, or maybe challenges that most ex-pros are no longer coaching. Maybe if they want to do coaching, they're no longer into football because of the systems in place or maybe structures that are not in existence. You know what I mean? And again, you know the composition of teams in Europe. It's not like someone who's gonna buy a club and then now is owning a club. No, it's like the club is from the area where the person who's leading the club gets elected by the members of the club of where the team is based, and then there are accountabilities. There's accountability in that instance. So in our case, is that someone with money buys a club and then boom, PSL. But where is the conveyor belt? There's no conveyor belt. That's where we miss it as a country.
So if I put the question to you, Mandla, I'm gonna ask you the question. What is the type of role you are looking for currently? Because the easy answer is yes, I can see you being a manager in the future. You qualified to be a manager.
Yeah.
But what is your current role you are looking for?
Look, the role that I'm looking for, it's obviously, even if I can be an assistant coach, it's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Or to analyze an upcoming matches, to come to the head coach and report what the oppositions are like, how they're playing. And also remember this current World Cup, the one that just ended now, the fixtures are shocker blocked to a point in the sense that they'll be playing Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So now those ones who are traveling, they are okay. What about those ones who are remaining behind? That's where now I'm also gonna be, if be given an opportunity to say, okay, come and do this, but with the coach's program that the coach wants the players to train in this fashion. Not to do that to dilute, but to follow the protocol of the senior head coach.
You just made me laugh, Mandla, because I'm thinking about a time. Well, this never happened to you, but this happened to me all the time when we were at Rangers together. Gordon would work with the team that is playing, going to be playing, and then I would be on the far end. We would just be kicking the ball, just waiting, doing nothing. And then we're just standing there doing nothing, But listen to what you're saying.
That's when now
the unit is there.
Yeah, that's when now these issues of losing games because of those players who are not traveling, they're no longer happy, those no one looking after them, then they're not going to put in an effort. Then now when those ones that are traveling are injured or suspended, they need those ones. They are way behind in terms of fitness. Maybe there's a club that is doing that, Sundowns. Others, maybe they are doing it, maybe they are not doing it, I don't know. But Sundowns, I can tell you, one of our colleagues whom that I had shared some moments with, I went to a game and watched, David Notwane. When the team travels to Africa and do whatever, those ones who are left behind is in charge of those players. So to keep their fitness level, and then so that they might not be thinking otherwise that they're not being important and all of those things. Because those ones who are not playing, they're the most important players because of they pushing those ones who are playing. So
you must remember,
find that
how many games have been played this season? How many games have been played? 50, 60?
You mean in South Africa?
Yeah.
You'll be lucky to play 40 games.
Okay, because 40 games.
There's 16 teams.
The same 11 cannot play 40 games.
Yeah, the same 11 cannot. There's suspension, there's injuries,
there's a loss of form.
Yeah.
So you need to nurture the unit and not just the team.
Not just the team that is playing regularly with the first 18, because then now, even when they come to training, others will miss training because of they know they want to play, because of they are in the regulars. So players, from that space, we can see that coaches favor players. But no matter what, they're not going to want to be in the team, even if they're not pulling their weight. So that's the mentality. So hence I said that would be my role, to be also helping with non-traveling players to be training according to the coach's program.
I'll say this to you now, coming back to current affairs. Sundowns are on Operation Fat Alles again, taking everything.
Yeah.
What a structure. It's easy when you have a billionaire throwing money at a club. They've got analysts, multiple analysts, conditioning coach, women's football team, young team structure. The team is on its way to winning the PSL again. Who do you think could be their biggest threats this season?
Look, South African football has always been the big three. A little bit of super sport because now Kevin is back and now they look like they are strong. They are competing. Super sport is one of those teams that I think can give Sundowns a good run for their money outside the big three. Outside the big three.
So okay. I'm shocked you didn't call Pirates. I'm shocked.
No, hence I said the big three is Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns. Yes, outside the big three, it's gonna be could be super sport.
Okay, do you want to expand a bit on that? Why super sport?
Look, they've got someone who's very, very astute, someone who knows the league, someone who understands the mentality, the psyche, and what it takes to win. You know, so that is why I'm saying to you, he is one of the outside dark horses to push Sundowns to the limit, or if not to push the big three, meaning Chiefs and Pirates as well together. You know, because of he's been there, he's won it 3 times back to back. You know, and currently is lying second. You can see from there that, you know, they can be a dark horses because they've got the driver that knows how to win. They've got the driver that his structure is well set, you know.
We had Gavin Hunt on our show about a month ago, and Gavin Hunt, the ever professional, very expressive, he put down his challenge. He said he doesn't have the team to win it. He's up there, but he doesn't have the team to win it.
Look, he knows how to grind. Remember, he took Leopards from oblivion to something else. He took Leopards to top 8 for the first time in Black Leopards history. He won the cup with Swallows. Swallows, they are somewhere there in the relegation, but he won the cup with Swallows. And later on, when he went to Supersport, he won. We went to Wits. Wits, they were not winning league medals. They were only winning cups. But when they went to Wits, Wits won the league, won the cup. So hence I said, there's someone that knows how to win, regardless as to what is at his disposal.
Yes. Personally, I feel Supersport got a big opportunity. I think Pirates are well equipped with their management, with their training, with the facilities and what they have in front of them. If you ask my opinion, I feel Chiefs are still a bit young. Otters one is a young manager coming into a big job. So the opportunities are there, but I agree with you, Mandla. Super Sport are a dark horse in this race.
Yeah, look, Pirates and Chiefs, actually the team that like could go pound for pound with Sundowns, it is Pirates currently. Pound for pound. It is Pirates. It's only themselves. It can only be themselves not to win the league. But in terms of players and the depth of the team, they've got quite they assembled. Usually, Pirates assemble very, very good team, but they falter during the season. How, I don't know. What causes that, I don't know. But hence I said, Supersport, they are there. Chiefs, you cannot rule Chiefs out. We all know Chiefs, the pedigree. You cannot rule it out. But for now, Sundowns is just head and shoulders above everyone else.
Wow. Mandla, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, get your insight, hear how passionate you are for the job and what you are looking for in the future. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and giving me your insights into what you want to do and the challenge for this Premier League season. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, my friend, and then I wish you all the best. Wish you a very, very good new year and a prosperous, like everything of the best. They're down there in UK, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come to your show, and then hopefully things will work out the way you and I would love them to, you know.
For our supporters out there,
let's continue on WhatsApp.
For our supporters out there, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us. Make sure you follow us on our Twitter account, our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel On The Whistle Podcast. Look out for us, follow us, give us your suggestions, and start looking for Mr. Mandla Zwane on the bench at a club very soon. Thank you very much.